Hey y'all, welcome back to the Southern Wife Life. I know it's been a while, but I've just been kind of busy and wanting to come up with some good content for you guys, so I'm really excited about today's video. Before we get started, obviously, y'all know the drill. I need you to hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, give this video a thumbs up, and share it with your friends, anybody that that may be interested, or if you just enjoy my posts and you want to share it, I would appreciate it. Also turn on your notification bell, and that way you'll be notified when I post any future videos. So now that we have all the regular, YouTube stuff out of the way, I'm really excited about today's video. If you follow along on my Facebook page or my Instagram, and you watch the stories, then you know that today's video is going to be about how to start your budget. Now, if you follow my blog, so I started a blog and I made a post, and I have my computer over here if you see me looking at it, but I made a post, it's been a while back, and it is a step-by-step guide on how to create your monthly budget. I also included a freebie in there, which is kind of like a budget starter checklist, I guess you could say. So if you want to go over there and grab it, you can, or I think I'm going to put a link down below and try to link the freebie there. I'm not super tech savvy, so I may not know how to do that yet, but somehow, some way, I will get you a copy of the budget checklist if you want one. Comment below and say you want the freebie, and I'll get it to you. So I'm kind of going to try to base the video off of the blog post that I did, just so you can kind of have both to go by. I said in my live on Facebook, some people really like video content. Other people would rather just read something really quick and be done with it. So that's kind of why I started the blog also, is so that you have those options. Like, I want to provide you, it's more work on my end, and that's why obviously I don't have a ton of time and I get behind, but I'm not just going to put something out there just to have content every week. And I've said that from the beginning. So anyways, if you like to just read through stuff, head on over to thetruesouthernwife.com and you will find my blog and blog posts there. If you like video content, then stay tuned, because this is going to be for you. So I talked a little bit in my live on Facebook the other day about how there's an app that I really enjoyed when I was like hardcore budgeting. So I will put a link down below for that. Also, it's called the EveryDollar app. It is by Dave Ramsey. It literally has everything you could ever think of. It really helps you to map out your budget really well. It gives you ideas for categories of spending and stuff like that. So if you're a digital person and you don't like, pen and paper, and you'd rather do something on the computer, then that app would be really great for you to check out. So like I said, I'll leave a link down below for that. I had it on my phone for a long time, and I would just log everything in there every day. And it really does. It takes a lot of the work out for you, but it can be overwhelming. So if you decide to try the app out and you have any questions, just shoot me a message and I'll try my best to help you if you get stuck with anything. I have a hair. Okay, so if you want to do pen and paper, then now is the time. Pause the video, go grab you a notebook and a pen. That's all you're going to need. I'm pretty sure this is going to be backwards to y'all. I don't really know. We'll see how it goes. August budget, we're going to start here. So the first thing that you're going to want to do is we need to write out our income for the month. So I know some people said that the problem they have is they have an irregular income, meaning you don't get the same thing every paycheck. I have that. That's how mine is. My paychecks are never the same. Cody's paychecks is exactly the same every time he gets paid. So an irregular income does make it a little more difficult, and my rule of thumb for an irregular income is to always budget on the lower side. So if you know, like, whatever you bring home, depending on how you get paid, let's say you get paid every 2 weeks, whatever you think maybe the lowest your check will be, write out your budget like that. And then if you do get paid more, you can always go in and add your extra money and find like where you want to put it in your budget later on. but you don't want to budget over and then not have as much. You can obviously fix that too, but I personally like to always just budget under, and then if I have extra, it makes me feel good. So that's a personal preference, but that's how I do it for our irregular income. So I get paid every 2 weeks. Cody gets paid every week. So what I like to do is just write out, and this is just going to be a mock budget. I'm not actually going to write out like our income and stuff or anything like that. But I'm just going to kind of give like a rough budget. So anyways, Cody gets paid every week. I get paid every 2 weeks. So that means roughly we have 6 checks a month, depending. Sometimes you have an extra if there's a 5th week. So I always try to just budget for the 6 paychecks. So on your paper, you're just going to write out, I do mine like Cody's check, Nicole's check, whatever. You can do paycheck 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Doesn't matter. Just go ahead and list out your paychecks on your paper. Okay, so my handwriting is not the best, so don't judge me, but here is roughly, like I said, I'm pretty sure this is backwards to you, but you get the idea. You list out your paychecks, you list out the amounts, and then you're going to total out what the paychecks would be for that month. That way you have what you're going to be bringing in for the month. You have an idea of what that's going to look like. So once you have your total amount you're going to be bringing in for the month, then we're going to have to list out the total amount that's going to be going out for the month. So that's not the fun part, but it is a very important part when it comes to budgeting. So next what we're going to do is we're going to write out our expenses. There are 2 different types of expenses when it comes to budgeting. You have your fixed expenses and your variable expenses. So fixed expenses are going to be things like your rent, your phone bill, your cable bill. They're going to be expenses that don't change. So it's the same every month. You know how much it's going to cost you. Your variable expenses are going to be things that are something you know you're going to have to pay for that month, but the amount will change. So your credit card bills, your water bill, your light bill, things like that. Things that are never the exact same amount every month. So next on your paper, let's list out those and then we'll come back. Okay, so now what we've done is we have listed out all of our expenses on our paper. So you're going to have your fixed expenses on one side, your variable expenses on the other. I just like to do that to keep them separate. And like I said, I always just try to get as close as I can on the variable expenses. And like I said, you're going to be off by a few dollars because they're never the same, but this will give you a good basis to start your budget. Also, please don't judge me on my ability to come up with random numbers to try to make this work. Obviously, these are not 100% accurate numbers. I just kind of put something in there so that we could try to show you how to start the budget. So don't judge me off of that. But okay, so let's talk about our fixed expenses first. So obviously your mortgage or your rent, I put $600 down just for renting purposes because I feel like a lot of people are renting right now instead of buying. Obviously if you have a mortgage, it's going to be quite a bit more than that. Car payments, so you may have multiple car payments or just one, so I put $400 in there for that. Cable and internet, your Netflix or any other streaming services you have. Your cell phone bill, your insurance, and maybe you go to the gym and you have a gym membership. The person that this budget is for, that's all their fixed expenses. Okay, so then their variable expenses, you're gonna have electricity, which I did 100, water is 30, a credit card, and we will talk about that too. I need to just do a whole video on credit cards. Credit cards can be very useful if you are good with managing your money. Now, if you're somebody who cannot control your spending habits, and if you had a credit card, you would just go out and swipe, and you don't plan on paying it off at the end of the month, then you, my friend, do not need a credit card. But you can really use credit cards to your advantage, and especially a cash rewards card. That's what we personally use, and it has been amazing. So I need to really do a video on credit cards because for us, I put all of our gas on a credit card. I put, when we go out to eat a lot of times, I'll put that on a credit card. So for us, this budget wouldn't be exactly right. But so let's say we have $500 on our credit card. $100 for gas, $100 for eating out. If you have a pet, you know, a lot of times you're going to have to be buying food and treats, or they may have to go to the vet or whatever. So I budget $100 for that. You may have to go to the doctor unexpectedly, or maybe you know you have an appointment coming up, or the dentist, or whatever it might be. So you want to include that in your budget so that you're prepared for that month to know, oh yeah, I have a dentist appointment coming up. I have to get a filling. That's going to cost me. Budget in there for that. And then I always budget fund money. And this may seem weird to some people because it's like, oh, if I have money, I can do whatever with it. But I think it's really good to set an amount for you and your spouse also, to just be like, hey, we have $100 this month each, or whatever, $50. You can do whatever you want to with it. And it's not about controlling. That is not what it is. It's just, we know we have this $100 that we can do whatever we want to with it, and it's covered in our budget. So I just like to write that out there. So like I said, just for the purposes of this video, this is a very rough budget, but you get the idea of how to set your own up. So we're going to say that the total monthly expenses for this person comes out to $2,450. So you're going to want to write that down. So now we know that we're supposedly bringing in $4,000 for the month of August, and we're going to be spending roughly $2,450. So what we can do down here then is that's going to leave us with $1,550 left over, but we're not done yet. So now we know roughly we're going to have $1,550 left over once we pay all of our bills. Now, you probably noticed that in the budget I didn't include student loans. Obviously, if you have student loans, you're going to have your minimum payment. You're going to want to include that in your fixed expenses. But I don't have student loans, and Cody doesn't either, so I didn't put that in there. But I do know that's something that's very popular, so be sure and include that in your fixed expenses if you do have student loans. But so down here then, after that, you're going to do your savings. I'm sure you've heard, if you have been looking into budgeting at all, and you know who Dave Ramsey is, he always talks about having your emergency fund set up. And they say, start with $1,000 emergency fund. I think that's fantastic. I think you should always have, you know, your nest egg or whatever you want to call it. It's very important to have money in the bank so that if something happens, hello, 2020, let's just be real, 2020 happened. It's really good to have that to fall back on, because you're going to be a little less stressed, not as panicked, because you know you're going to have some savings cushion to be able to pay your bills for the month. So yes, I highly, highly suggest, if you do not already have an emergency fund or a savings account or whatever, super simple to open one. We open one that we don't really have a way. I mean, we can withdraw money if we need to, but we don't have don't do a checking account because it's way too easy to pull your money out. Do it as a savings account. You're going to draw a little bit of interest, and it's just going to be a safe place to keep your money. And that way, if you need it, you can go get it, you can pay your bills, and you're not going to be stressed out. So yes, I highly suggest trying to save $1,000 for your emergency fund. But once you get that $1,000, don't stop. Me personally, I love to have, or I don't know that I even have that, but the plan would be to save up 6 months worth of expenses to have saved, so that if something happened and you lose your job, or, you know, whatever, you have 6 months that you know you're going to be able to pay your bills because you have it saved in your savings account. My ultimate goal is to have a year's worth of bills, the amount of money I need to pay a year's worth of my bills saved up, so that if for some reason something really crazy happens, then we can not have to panic or stress. So you have the leftover money. So we have $1,550. So now we're going to delegate it into our savings funds. So automatically, I'm going to say, if you have that much left over, go ahead and put $500 into your emergency fund. That's just going to be a great place to put it, to stack it on up, you know, start building that up even more. And then another savings fund that you can do is a vacation fund. So obviously right now, vacation's not really happening, but With 2020 in the hindsight, you want to be planning ahead for your vacations, because who doesn't love to be able to pay for their vacation in cash? You can do that. It's as simple as saving like $25 a month. If you know that you want to go on a big vacation next year, start saving now. Put that money away and don't touch it. That's the big thing. People can say, oh, I'm saving, and then you see the next shiny toy you want and you go deplete your savings account. Don't do that. So let's say we are going to put $200 this month towards our vacation fund. Another thing to look into the future about is birthdays. Maybe you have, your spouse's birthday coming up, your child, your dad, whoever. Go ahead and throw $50 in your birthday savings fund, and that way you have money there to buy presents. And then also, once again, with COVID and all that going on, there's not really a lot of trips, but sometimes you'll have a work trip coming up. And you're going to need, food while you're there or whatever. So go ahead and throw $100 in that. And that way you're saving for all these different occasions that are coming up. And when those occasions get here, you don't have to panic because you're tight on money. You can just go to that savings account, pull that money out, and pay for whatever you need. So I think a good way to do those accounts are just have envelopes at your house, or you can obviously open separate accounts. I know some banks even have like a vacation or a holiday fund. Christmas is another really good thing that you can put on here. Go ahead and start saving for Christmas. And each month, if you have a little bit left over, throw it to that account. And then when Christmas comes, you're not stressed over buying presents for people. So there's always a lot of good things you can do with the extra money you have left over. So once we do that, we're going to be putting $850 into our different various savings accounts. And so what that's going to leave us with after we do that is we have an extra $700 left. So here is where my next favorite part of budgeting comes in. So now we've paid all our bills, we put money into our savings, whatever that may look like, and now we still have an extra $700 left. Now, like I said, this is just a mock budget. I really didn't take the time to sit here and think about the amounts, so don't come at me if you feel like they are so off. But so let's say we have another $700. Here's where you get out of debt. Here is how we have paid off our vehicles. Here's how we have done all the things we've done to get out of debt. Anything we have left over, once we've done all that, you put it towards your debt. If you are in credit card debt, which like I said, credit cards are a whole other ballgame because you've got that humongous interest rate. If you do not pay your credit cards off every month, you're paying 25+% in interest, which is absolutely terrible because that is going to be really, really hard to get out of. So you can put this extra money towards your credit card debt. If you have a car payment, you can make extra payments on your car loan. So you may have to write a separate check, like depending on how yours is done. If you have it automatically drafted, you just go to the bank, or you can send in or call in and make an extra payment towards that loan. Same thing goes for student loans. I'm sure you can make extra payments on those. Like I said, I've never had them, but I'm sure it goes the same. So whatever you have in debt, once you have everything else delegated out, separate that $700 and put it towards something you owe for. You can do it with your house payment. You can make an extra payment to your house payment. But whatever it is, make sure that $700 goes towards something. So let's just say we put it towards the vehicle so that we're at zero. Because at the end of the day, what you're looking for is you want a zero-based budget, which means the total amount of money that you are planning to bring in for the month, which we said was $4,000, is going to be the total amount of money you have spent / saved / paid off debt at the end once you get your budget all written down. So we're left with $700. So let's just say we're going to pay, to keep it simple for me, we're going to pay an extra $700 towards the car payment. And once we add all that up, so what you're going to do is you're going to come back You're going to take your total monthly expenses, you're going to take your total savings, and then you're going to take your other that you pay towards your debt. You're going to add it all up, and it should equal $4,000. And that is how you get a zero-based budget. So you're going to have 4,000 minus 4,000 is 0. And that's what you want, because then you know every single dollar that you plan on bringing home has a place, it has a purpose, and that is how you stay on track. You don't do a lot of crazy spending that you're not supposed to do. You don't end up in more debt. You're actually working towards getting out of debt. And it's just really important. I feel like nowadays, especially with auto draft and debit cards and all that, I don't feel like people know where their money's at, where it's going, how much they have left. People overdraft all the time. That terrifies me. Like if I overdrafted, I would have a panic attack. So it's just really important to know what kind of money you have, what kind of money you don't have. So this is a super simple way. Like I said, you can just write it all down like this, have it on a piece of paper, and there is your budget. And then what you can do is you just tweak it as your bills come in. So let's say your electricity, we budgeted $100, and then you got your bill and it was only $90. So you have $10 extra now. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to find a new home for that $10 extra. So I just go back up here and I'm like, oh, it wasn't $100. Put a little cross out, put my $90, and then I'm gonna be like, oh, I have $10 extra. And let's say I forgot that somebody else has a birthday, so let's add that $10 to our birthday fund. It's just as simple as that, but it's important to go back and rebalance everything out, and that way you don't lose a single dollar. That's why it's called a zero-based budget. You literally know where every single dollar that you make is going. And it's a good feeling. It's good to know that. And I feel like it's important to know that, because it makes you way more self-aware and conscious of your spending. And when you realize, because guys, I mean, I made this a positive budget. I made this a good looking budget. This is probably not reality. I know that. A lot of times, by the time people pay their expenses, they have zero money left, or they have like $5 left. So yeah, I probably need to go through here and really make a I'm in a lot of debt and I need help budget. But this was just something I wanted to throw together really quick just to show you how to lay it out. And then we can actually go in and try to make it a little more realistic. Because yeah, I know it's not common to have that much money left over. Like, I get that. But I really wanted to be able to show you guys that if you did have this money left over, how you can delegate it to all of these different places and know that there are different options for your money. That's basically why I did it this way. Like, yes, I know that that's not the case for everybody, and a lot of people who want to start a budget or need to start a budget are doing it because at the end of the day they feel like they aren't bringing in any money. You feel like you're paying your bills and you have nothing left. So we can sit down and do a more debt versus income kind of budget, and that way we can see how you can tweak things. That's something I really want to look into maybe doing more of and helping you actually. If you ever want to share your finances or struggles or whatever, I would love to sit down and go through your budget, write it all out, and see things that you can tweak. Like for us, we don't have cable anymore. We do have Netflix. We have an internet bill, we have Netflix, we have YouTube TV. We don't have water bill anymore because we have a well. There's just a lot of little things like our cell phone bills. You can change plans, you can do different stuff like that to save money. So if you are in a place or a position that, let's say you follow this and you write all your stuff down, and then your number here is not necessarily negative, but it's really low. And maybe it's really low and you haven't even gotten to the savings part yet. and you want to know how we can fix this part, we can look at that and we can find ways to help. And it takes sacrifice sometimes, guys, though. Like, you have to look at the big picture. You can't just look at right now. Like, yeah, maybe you really wanted to go out and do whatever. But at the end of the day, if you can save that extra $50 or $100 that month and put it towards your debt, you're one step closer to being out of debt and then being able to go do whatever you want to a year from now because you have that extra money because you didn't blow it when you really needed to put it towards something else. So like I said, it's really easy to get overwhelmed with budgeting. It's really easy to get really stressed when you see the numbers, but that's important. It's important for you to see the numbers because that's what it's going to take to wake you up and make you realize, hey, I need to do something. I need to change something. This can't keep happening or I'm just going to go more and more in debt. I'm just going to go farther down the rabbit hole and it's going to be 10 times harder to get back out. So like I said, I made this into a positive budget just to be able to show you how you could delegate money into savings, paying off extra debt, etc. But if you're not there, that's okay. Don't worry, we can fix that, but this is just to give you an idea. So if you have any questions, be sure and leave me a comment or send me a private message on my Facebook page or my Instagram. All that information will be listed down in the description box below. And that way, if you don't want to share anything public, you can always send it private and we can talk and figure things out for you because that's what I'm here for. That's why I want to do this. Because I really want people to be able to have these positive numbers. I want people to be able to put money towards savings, to put money towards extra debt, whatever. Another thing I wanted to ask you guys is, would you all possibly be interested in like a budget workbook? I've been tinkering around with the idea of creating like a monthly workbook that you can work through that would have slots listed out for you to list all your stuff and kind of just a little book that would keep everything together. Obviously, you can totally just do it in a regular notebook, but if you want me to do the extra work and create a workbook for you, I really think that would be kind of fun. And it's something that I'm looking into doing. So if you think a budget workbook would be something you'd be interested in, please let me know in the comments down below. Or like I said, shoot me a message because I'm really thinking about working on one. So I'd love your input on that. Another thing I wanted to show you guys really quick is kind of the calendar that I use to keep up with my bills. Another thing about budgeting is it's totally personal. So if something that I suggest or the way I do something doesn't work for you, that's totally fine. There's a ton of other pages out there that have great ideas. If you're a computer person, like I said, the Every Dollar app is great, but I also follow some people who have Excel spreadsheets and they plug all their numbers and stuff in there, and I don't know how to do that. So obviously that would stress me out more. But if you love stuff like that, like I can totally send you their information and hook you up with them. And maybe, the Excel stuff would work better for you. I also know some people who specifically write down, like each paycheck they get, they use that paycheck to pay specific bills, which is important. Especially if you don't have like an extra cushion in your checking account. If you're starting out and you don't have any extra and you have to literally wait for your check to hit the bank before you can pay your bills, that may be a really good thing for you to do. Is like if you know that you're getting a paycheck, let's say on the 3rd, and you have 2 bills that are due by the 8th, then you're going to need to make sure that the paycheck on the 3rd is going to cover those bills, because if not, you're going to have a backup plan, or your bills are going to be late and then you're going to have late fees and all of that. So like I said, there's totally different options, and you just have to find what works best for you. I just want to provide you all suggestions that I use and that have worked for me. But so here is a calendar. This is also something else I'm thinking about coming up with maybe and creating. But so this was July's month. And so up here, what I write is I have paychecks paydays, auto draft, bills, and then appointments and holidays. And I use just a highlighter to make a specific color for each one of them. And then, so like anything that is pink is bills that I actually write a check out for. and that's the days that they are due. Anything that is kind of this pastel purpley blue color, those are my auto drafts, and those are the dates that they automatically get drafted out of my bank account. And I'll be honest, I was never an auto draft person. I don't trust people. I want to pay my bills myself, but both of these auto drafts come directly from my bank that I have my checking account with, and they gave me like a discount for just letting them do an auto draft, which is fine. And then my insurance, I just really trust my insurance guy, and he was like, it's going to be cheaper to do it, and so I did that. The rest of them, I could pay online or I could do an auto draft. I don't. I like to write checks. And another thing, and another reason I like to write checks is because, once again, it comes back to that whole, when you physically sit down and write out a check for that bill, it makes you think about, like, let's say if it was your credit card bill and you're physically having to write out the amount that you spent for that month, it really makes your brain be like, whoa, or, you know, oh my gosh, I spent that much money, or hey, I didn't do too bad this month, like our bill was this. So I really feel like it's important, and if you struggle, I would really suggest writing out your own bills versus auto draft, just to get you in the habit of being conscious about your spending. That's why I enjoy doing it. It really works for me. The green ones are paydays. The yellow ones are appointments or birthdays, holidays, whatever. And that way I just kind of know when everything's coming up for the month. And then I haven't highlighted August because I'm behind, but I go ahead and write everything in there. And then that way I know when everything's due. So that's just a little something that you can try and see if that works for you. It helps you keep up with everything. And like I said, I may create some kind of little Southern wife style calendar, and that way y'all can have one. So we'll see, but that's how I kind of just write everything out and color code it, because who doesn't like to color code stuff? That's kind of fun. But anyways, so that is a very rough, basic idea of how to write out a budget. Like I said, I just used the numbers I used because they were easy to add up, and they allowed me to be able to show you guys the various things you can do with a budget. Once again, I do have the blog posts on my website, so I will link that down below. You can check that out. And please be sure and let me know any questions you might have, or just anything you want to talk about. I'm an open book. I'm here for you. And that's why I created this YouTube channel. That's why I've created my Facebook page, everything. I really want to help you guys out, and I'm really excited to see you guys try to start implementing some of the things that I use, and see if it works for you. So be sure and let me know what you think of this video. Leave a comment down below, and we will see you next time.